Hi everybody, welcome to a new tutorial and demonstration from Sound for More. It's Leo speaking. Today we're going to look at Flowtones, a new fantastic synth from Toneboosters, and it's a virtual analog synth, so really amazing sound as you will hear in a moment. Before I start, I would like to remind my viewers to subscribe unless they've already done so, as it helps with growing the channel. But let's start. Well, first of all, the sound of this synth, it's amazing. So there are a lot of presets, but let's kick off with just listening to what it has to offer. So this is the flowing tones, as you can see up here preset. So amazing sounds, as you can hear, and yes, it has a sequencer. You can see here on the right hand side where it says SEQ for sequencer, so you can see that it is driving the melody that you hear when I'm pressing keys on the keyboard. And you can hear also some modulation going on. In fact, here you have a modulation effect and you have different LFOs. And in this case, you can see this LFO is, it has a triangle waveform, which is going up and down, which it gives you that modulation in terms of amplitude on volume. Really nice. So let's have a look at other preset. You can either click here on the names or you can click here on the load. As you can see here, we have a nice interface with different libraries, categories, and then you have the preset names here. So what we were hearing at the moment was the flowing tones, which is the standard preset that you have available when you open for the first time Flowtones. So let's click on sequence here in terms of category, and let's listen to some of the sequences in terms of preset. So let's have a look. Let's listen. So really nice. Let's try this funk bass. Really nice. It reminds me a little bit of some of the preset from 80s, 90s. Really nice. Let's listen to these analog masters. Really nice. Let's try this arpeggio loop, which I really love. And the synth has also some nice and interesting effects. If you go to modulation effects, here you find a lot of effects: formant, reverb, delay, chorus, distortion, and bit crash here, bit crashing. So the formant I really love. And let's listen to some of the preset. Let's go to these Buffer and Jensen. That's really nice. And if you click on the category vocal here, so let's listen to some of the vocal preset. You'll be amazed. Really interesting. And this comes from the formant effect. Indeed, if you go to the modulation effect, formant, we can change the vowels here. Really amazing. But let's continue with the exploration of more presets. So let's listen to some more sequence preset. The pluck are really nice. It really has a modern taste as well as a synth. And pads as well are really, really nice. And one of the things I really, really like of this synth is the analog, the virtual analog part in terms of synthesis. So actually, let me show you. Let me go to template as a category and let's load the default template. Now listen to how pure this triangle wave sounds. Really nice. And you have a lot of waveforms here, really, really nice. Let me go to either and sine. Listen to how pure the sound of the sine waveform is. The other thing which I also like very much is that you can do pulse wave modulation for practically every waveforms you have in the synth. And if you click and hold enough and then release, here's where you can associate to the particular parameter a modulation, whether you're using VCA, which is on this part of the synth, LFO, or envelopes, which is in the modulation effects, or even velocity and the wheel as well. So the motion wheel. So as you can see here, you have two VCOs, VCO1 and VCO2, okay? And you have also part 1 and part 2. So for every part, you have 2 VCOs, which is interesting. Then you can have unisons as well. And this is where you set to moving up and down. The difference in tones for the unison. Here's where you set mono or stereo. This is quite interesting. You can set an offset in millisecond, and also you can set the intensity of the punch effect. And you can double click, of course, to go back to the default setting for the controls. Really nice. This is where you activate if you want to change the tone to change by note keyboard or MIDI messages. In this case, all the same. Or if you activate it, you can set the tones, go up and down an octave, and also do fine adjustment in tones. Okay, it's really nice. Then here you have the waveform. You can cross modulate the VCO itself, like in this case VCO1 or the other VCO, and you can do that, of course, on the other VCO as well, which gives you more possibility in terms of synthesis. Yeah, you have the standard controls, really, the level in terms of intensity in palm, pulse wave modulation, pulse width modulation, which I explained, it can be applied to any waveform. You have a bit of a noise effect, stereo, mono, and also change it based on the MIDI keyboard or keys. Phase as well, which you can adjust here with, again, adjustment if that responds to keyboard change. And here you can add subharmonics. At the bottom here, you can add your VCF, okay, for your cutoff frequency. You have a drive here, which is quite nice. And you can add a more dramatic effect to the VCF with these thunder icon here. Here you can adjust use your cutoff resonance as well. Here you can establish also the steps. that the cutoff, the filter will go through, and here the mix. And up here you can decide which type of filter you're using, low pass, high pass, etc. So a lot of different choices, more than something like 30 in terms of filters, and get more than 30 in terms of waveforms. Here you have your classical VCA, attack, decay, sustain, release, and you can also set the loop between decay and sustain, which is really nice. So you can apply that to part 2 similar way, and then you have modulation and effects here. Here you have 4 different LFOs, and here you have 3 different envelopes. Here you can, for every part where you see this button, you can activate whether it is an effect, a VCO, etc. You can change the speed for the LFO here. You can switch between speed and duration. You can synchronize it. You can double the speed, half it. You can change the phase. You can have a self-running based on resetting on keyboards. You can have a unipolar or bipolar, and then you can decide if it is impacted by any envelopes, which you can adjust here in the usual way. Attack, decay, sustain, and release with a loop as well for each of the envelopes. Really straightforward. I'm not going to go through all the different effects, but as I was explaining earlier, you have formant, reverb, delay, and chorus, and then here you have bit crushing and distortion. One of the things I really like is, of course, Toneboosters effect. So really cool. You can activate the reverb. Yes, under here you have different reverbs, including shimmer. Which is really nice to hear that we have that available. Then we have a sequencer here, and this is where you can decide to apply different notes. You can activate the sequencer. You can decide on many bits. Really nice. You can go down also to 3 bits if you want to have the classical even number of bits, grid size, bits per minute, and then here you have different options, which perhaps I will do an in-depth video, but you can select notes, delete notes, copy and paste notes, snap it to grid, lock it for only change in velocity. So there's a lot of different options. And of course you have output here, and this is where you have your master EQ, which works extremely well. Well, that is not a surprise, Toneboosters effect, so really nice. You can establish a VCA cap and a limiter here. So, and a lot of other different settings that you have for your synths here. So, and I'm not going to go through them because the other standard one like tuning, transposing, whether you set your MIDI channel, omnium or polyphonic, the number of voices. So they're self-explanatory, but if that's not the case, please do leave a comment and I will respond to that or add additional videos as well. You have a nice randomizer function here. You click on it and you can randomize the different parameters, and you can set also here ratio between musical and effect. And you just click on randomize and you have a new preset. At the moment you hear the sequencer, which is active, so let's deactivate that. Let's go halfway between musical and effect. Randomize. Okay, let's make it more an effect. Let's go back to musical, randomize again. Okay, really nice. Please remember that as you actually working with different VCO and combine them between also using parts, check the level because it can get quite high. So as explained here at the top, you have selection of preset, really straightforward. You have also choose state A and B, and you can move from one to the other. You have copy and paste, do, undo, load and save. And here you can change the style, the coloring of your interface. Look at that. So really nice. And let's click on it. You have a huge selection, which is really nice. So, oh, I like the red one or oranges one, which is really nice. Standard keyboard controls here, but of course, if you're using it as an audio unit, you might not want to use that, or use your external controller. Of course, up here on the sandwich menu here, you have show tooltips. You have your audio media settings here, where you can load and save programs, load your default setting or save them or clear them. And you can also import and export an XML program, which is very useful if you want to swap presets between different instances, or whether you have a desktop version installed, etc. So really, really, really nice. But I think the biggest thing for me is how nice some of the presets are. They're really, really nice. Really, really nice. Pure strings. Let's try this one. As you can hear, you might hear some clipping, so just check your output as well. Okay, so just make sure that is not clipping, as it will create a little bit of a bit of noise or distortions. Just check on your limiters and the settings. Anyway, this is a fantastic synth, really, really expressive. I can't, emphasize enough how pure the sound is, particularly on some of the waveforms. Is really, really nice. I will do other tutorials, of course, to go in depth into some of the controls. I might do one dedicated to sequencer, which might help for people starting out. I think it's quite different from other synth that we have seen. For example, Synth Master 2. It doesn't have this busy interface as Synth Master 2 has, which makes it look a little bit more approachable as a synth. But on the other hand, it doesn't have the same controls that perhaps you have on Synth Master 2. But I do really, really like the sound of some of the waveforms, and I think, particularly on that triangle waveform I showed you at the beginning, or the sine wave as well, it does sound actually better than a Synth Master 2. So it has something to give to other synths for sure. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this short introduction, and I see you at the next video. Please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Bye.